look at a building, depending on who you are, you see it for yourself in a particular way. You may know the color, or the pattern, or the way the bulk of it sets there. You may think sometimes of all the things going on inside, the conferences and arguments, the routine office work, and the unroutine events like an office party for a girl about to get married. And then there are the special things you see, being a special person, all of us are. The engineer sees more about the way supports are used. The painter more about color. The salesman for air conditioners a lot more about new customers. Myself, I see the windows, and more particularly Venetian blinds. That's my specialty. For me, a building is put up to hold windows. And to look at the buildings going up nowadays, mine seems a fairly popular position to take. And I'm not talking just about the big buildings like these in New York. I'm talking about homes and factories and all the rest. The windows are getting bigger, and there are more of them than ever before. The windows are getting to be the entire wall, thanks to some clever men who seem to think along with me. The window has arrived, and I'm not only flattered, I'm glad, because my specialty is Venetian blinds. But I used to feel the same way even before I became such a specialist. If I'm wrong, you know, then we're all wrong. We should stay back in the cave where man started out. We should dig holes in the ground to get away from the weather. You can dig a hole and fill it with carpeting and furniture and pictures and TV and good things to eat and wonderful friends and lots of fun. Be the same almost as living in a house, except no windows. So you see, mine is a fairly important job. I'm an inspector in a Venetian blind factory. My name is Mary Robillard. I help make sure that a lot of Venetian blinds work the way they should, for foolproof control of light and ventilation. I'm talking about 10,000 blinds a day that we put out. I don't do it all myself, obviously, but still, mine is an important job. I and my family, the children are all in high school now. They're getting so wonderfully big. Well, I and my family and my job are up here in New Bedford, Massachusetts. Used to be a whaling town. It's still quite a place for different kinds of fishing. My husband, Bert, has got a little powerboat. Goes out all the time and he's not out on the truck. Takes me and the kids along often. There's our plant with a sawtooth roof, right on the Acushnet River off Buzzards Bay. And Bert's boat, and you can see it from the beach line out there with the rest. Featherflex, that trailer you see back of the transformers, is the brand name of the blinds we make. The work starts always with two things. One is an order. The buyer, perhaps from your neighborhood store, might see our president, Rudy Bruner. He must know our name. The other thing that's needed is a coil of metal, aluminum or steel. The men in the mill handle it as easily as if it were a roll of satin ribbon, and as carefully. The way they zip it back and forth and up and down on the lifting fork, it's hard to believe it weighs 3 tons. Ours is a new sort of rolling mill, the Zenzimer. Aren't more than a dozen in the whole country. Working it, Bert tells me, is a combination of pulling taffy and rolling pie crust dough, tension and pressure. The mill puts tension on the metal as it's passed and pressure on the rollers through which the pass is made. All the weight is borne on just 2 thin work rolls. The others, you see, are drive rolls and backup rolls. The whole thing is controllable to 1/10,000th of an inch, thanks to gamma ray gauges, our own power source, and mill crews that know their way around. Once the metal is brought to gauge, it has to be cut to slat stock width and other sizes. The slitting starts here and ends here. A lot happens in between. The sheet is threaded through the slitter's cutting knife, a solid setup, carbide steel and black steel spacers. The slitter doesn't cut the metal, it shears the sheet to needed widths. The lead runoff drops out the other side, smooth, shiny, and I think kind of beautiful. At Arcudo pass it through the guide rack pulleys, and then they thread the take-up drums. Ken was an inspector with the Navy before joining us. What he learned about rigid specifications there is mighty useful here. The slitter is threaded, set, and off we go. Now. Enough each month to go around the world. New Bedford to London, on to Tel Aviv and Bombay, to Frisco and New York. Watch it. First stop coming up. There it is. Enough to stretch at least from here to Boston. Now the beauty parlor for a full course treatment. And I mean full. Conrad Lapierre is in charge of the reception room. This staging platform with 10 payoff tables. Connie wanted to be a postman, does another sort of delivering here, and right on schedule, too. He puts the slat stock through a 5-stage bonderizer. It comes out all painted up and mighty pretty. Bob Gregory, the other end, just makes sure the stock tracks right. Travels dead center on the pulleys. There's nothing else to do. It's been through the works. An oak-eyed shampoo, a steam rinse and a baking, then a bonderized bath that etches the surface and leaves a phosphate coating, a second steam rinse, another baking, and a passivating chromate dip. The paint job is a double one, first an undercoat, then for the final coat, a silicone paint that sheds dust, that keeps it looking this way always. This beauty treatment is in every way a permanent, chip-proof, dust-proof, and agreeable to almost anything. Agreeable to being formed, stamped, molded, and punched. And all without showing a wrinkle, without showing a scratch. Jean Hunt is one of the girls that takes over now. Watch the way she works, and you can guess the wonderful way she manages her home. And why she's the life of the party at company dances. These machines all work the same. 2 preform rolls, 2 sets of form rolls, and then around the feed roll down the trough. The cutoff and punching die lock down together. A solenoid valve makes them automatic. But quality control, my specialty, is far from automatic. Actually, it's everybody's job. It starts with the way we make the bottom rails, from the grip adjustment of the Littell payoff through the 8-headed Yoder former, and the final glance that Irving Bryden gives each length. Rita Boudreaux makes it part of the way she cuts the cord hole in the tape slot. Mercy Medeiros works at it in the way she arranges them for the trip to final assembly. The same goes for the way Hank Johnson makes the top rails. He starts with a flat 8-inch strip loaded on a Littell payoff, feeds it through the guides, and ends up with the most complicated single shape in the entire blind, the headrail. It's like a running argument. Hank argues it step by step with high-pressure persuasion. I wish I could twist some things the way I want them, as surely as Hank can force finished painted metal to bend the way we need it, without hurting the finish or even seeming to hurry. The metal talks back, but always gives in. The small parts that we need are argued into shape by stamping machines, like these installation brackets that Ernie Rayfield makes on the #1 hydraulic press. We'll take the safety rail off a moment for a better look at the combination die. The beauty of it is the die strokes fast, but the action on the metal is a squeeze, so steady and controlled that the paint remains unbroken. The arguments are noisy, but there's never any doubt about the outcome. Some persuade the metal into tape drum cradles. Doesn't look important, but it's what lets you adjust the slats at home. Some arguments are swifter, like this one making chord equalizers. Or the one that's used to make the face clips. You start to see how these arguments and beauty treatments pay off by watching Frank Aguirre. It's here the putting together begins. Frankie tacks the tape drums to the U-rods. The way he does it, you can see why Bert says he's a great hand to have aboard on fishing trips. Here, the parts for the Planetary gears are assembled. The zinc brass-coated drums, the stems that fit into them, and the Planet gears that turn like moons round the stem. There are no arguments needed anymore. Everything's all set to put together. A lot of hands are needed, though, to do just that. There's Beatrice Pimentel. The cleverness of her fingers. You should see some of her knitting. And Mary Regan. When Mary sits down at the revolving jig, she goes through the assembling routine as if she were doing it to music. At the next jig, Alice Sazzi and Margaret are in partnership, a constant couple. The Planetary gear seems to me the heart of the Featherflex blind. Once you have the gear, you build. The work begins to get the look of a finished product. You start to assemble the heads, the cord lock at one end, the gear at the other. The gear controls the opening and closing of the slats. The cord lock controls the raising and the lowering of the blind. Behind each one, you put a pulley cradle to support the U-rod, the rod to which Frank Aguirre first welded the tape drums. From then on, you're in assembly line production. Joe Mattis is in charge here. His work, like mine, has lots to do with quality control. Once the headrail gets past Joe Mattos, it's well on the way to graduation as a Featherflex. The graduation ceremony starts with tape and cord assembly. The head rail and the bottom rail, the tape and cord, are joined together. The setup then is passed to the cages for slatting. the slats are threaded in, the blind is passed on to the tie-off line for packing. These are the girls I've helped to train. These are the girls I work with. Eleanor Sylvia, with pretty almond-shaped eyes. Pat Edmondson, always reliable. Alice Finch. Evelyn Sadlow. Tina Sylvia. The lift racks our engineers designed help these girls set individual production records that beat anything in the industry. These racks are one of the tricks that bring the price of these blinds down to less than $5 a window. There are other tricks, too, like the slat threading needles and the safety drop device, which make this operation as smooth as any in the plant. Watch Pearl Hessian for a moment, and you'll see for yourself. This is her normal speed. Some of the other girls are even faster. I butt in. Old Eagle Puss, Mary Robillard. I sample every crateful and check the sample through as if I didn't have the entire plant backing me up in quality control. I set the blinds on the rack again and start a search that almost always ends in failure. I look for trouble, and my failure means success. Cord lock works. The dog, that's what we call a catch. Bites every time, but not too hard for easy handling by the customer. The bottom rail, smooth as always. Nothing to catch on, nothing to scratch. The tilt cord works just fine. The slats, they lie right in every position. And the Planetary gear, the part I think is the heart of every feather flex, works surely every time. Old Eagle Puss flops again, and the day's output is okayed. Enough to keep 3 men as busy as Charlie Jacinto here, just packing it into the shipping room. With all the orders coming in and all the shipments going out, somehow there's still a full stock of every size ready on hand. Enough to fill a truckload order for a single size. Like these 32 by 64s. That's a city order, typical apartment size windows. It takes Sam Green and Eddie Dansereau almost half a day to load a morning's product off our assembly line. Sam is the one who picks up 3 to every 2 of Eddie's. I guess that's because Sam is smaller. I guess, too, that you can see now why I think so much of windows. This trailer load of Featherflex will take care of a lot of windows, making for more comfort, more privacy, better ventilation, make them prettier as well. and control light and darkness to suit one's mood and wish, whatever it might be.
Hey, take it up!
The trailer's loaded now with 15 tons of feather flex. And according to my arithmetic, that means 5,000 windows geared for comfort. Tons of comfort, locked and sealed. And I helped see to it. Safe driving, Bert. And hurry home.